Look it up was like,
Got 45 seconds.
so they lost the garbage can.
Oh,
Always go to sleep.
Think we got anybody from the public here tonight?
Reed, you probably turn that recording on and go to sleep.
Well, yeah.
One guy.
they're ready.
There's one guy.
Go.
Huh?
Go.
No, it's not done yet. 15 seconds. My watch is always exactly right.
9 feet. We heard you.
Let's call the August 31st, 2020 Dalton City Council meeting to order. Mr. Wall will lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. The agenda is before each of you. Do you see any changes in the agenda? If not, do I hear a motion? We approve the agenda is written.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Goodlett, second by Miss, what's your name, Harlan? And all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All approve, like sign. Now's the time we allow the public to mention anything on the agenda or anything else on your mind. If you have not filled out a card, you need to fill out the card before you do it. Anybody here that wants to? All right, I'm going to change the agenda a little bit just by, I want to recognize some people. There's certain services that we have in Dalton that we just take for granted. It's going to get done every week, every day, no matter what happens. And I picked up the Wall Street Journal today, and on the third page was a headline: cities strained to collect trash as volumes rise and workers get sick. Obviously, we've had a lot more people sitting at home, and I can guarantee you, Andrew can tell you, we're picking up a lot more garbage. Andrew, you know, I commend you, your people, whatever. It's amazing how things just get done here when most other cities are struggling with it. You can have this article if you want it done. That was wonderful. Thank you for what y'all do. Under new business number 1 is we got 2 new 2020 alcohol beverage applications.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. These were approved, recommended for approval by the Public Safety Commission this past Tuesday. One is doing business as Gold Beer Shop. This is located on East Walnut Avenue. It is a new license for the sale of packaged beer and packaged wine. The second license is also new. It is for the sale of packaged beer and packaged wine, and it's doing business as Yas Tobacco, and it's on Fleming Street. And I would present these to be approved. So make that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodlett. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. I'm reversing 2 with 3 and 3 with 2. 2 is adoption of 2020 millage rate at 2.237 mils and certification of city and independent school millage rates. Who's Cindy?
Yes, Mayor, as we discussed in the Finance Committee meeting, instead of adopting the rollback rate, we will be adopting the reduced rate of 2.237 mils, which is a reduction in 9.73%.
And the certification of the independent, are we supposed to do something with that?
Yeah, I'll have to get you to sign it. We have to certify the DDDAs, the schools, and the cities to send to the tax office. And they've already sent me a letter with their amounts.
But the only thing we have to take action on here as a group is our millage rate. Okay. Do you hear a motion on that?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Aye.
What'd you say?
Aye.
Okay. Number 3, budget amendment number 5 for primarily CARES Act funding received, refer to detail amendment attached. Cindy?
Yes, this is budget amendment number 5. This amendment in the general fund, we are increasing our revenues $1,012,285. which is $850,000 reduction in our personal property taxes due to the millage rate decrease. We're getting a FEMA grant of $100,000 and also a transfer in for our state of Georgia CARES allocation, $1,762,285. We will increase our COVID supplies, $100,000. That's going to be equivalent to the FEMA grant. The city clerk requests an increase in recording fees of $1,700 due to increase in the cemetery deed recordings. And then we have the other agency funding for the Deo Clinic of $50,000. So we will be increasing our budgeted fund balance $865,85 with this budget amendment. Then we also have a CARES grant for the airport fund, $69,000 for wages. And that's just increasing their grant revenue and increasing the airport grant fund of $69,000 and then transfer out to airport operations. We also have, because if you are 2% over your general fund, you have to account for your grants in a separate fund. So that $1,762,285, we have to account for it in a grant fund, but we're moving it just directly over to the general fund. So in the grant fund other, it's federal money in, federal money out to the general fund. So it's a wash.
Any questions of Cindy? Your motion to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goodletts, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Harlan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Next, under number 4 is agreement with the Bleakley Advisory Group to perform tax allocation district study.
Thank you,
Jason.
Mayor, council members. This is a recommendation to approve a proposal from the Bleakley Advisory Group to conduct an assessment on the potential for expanding the number of tax allocation districts in the city, namely 2 areas, the North Bypass area and West Walnut. This is the first step in the city's study of these particular parcels. And this action tonight approves the study only and doesn't approve a new TAD. Be happy to answer any questions you may have and ask for approval of that proposal.
What's the cost?
The cost is listed in the agenda is at $21,000 total. The initial is $9,500, and if the city asked them to proceed for the remainder of the study, it would be a total of $21,000.
Questions? There a motion on this?
Motion move forward.
Motion by Mr. Cruz, second by Ms. Harlan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 5, resolution number 20-16, accepting donation of real property and dedication of public right-of-way on New Doris Street. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Committee is aware we're working currently over on New Door Street with our street maintenance division to improve that street. It's very narrow. It's a dead-end street with no curb and gutter, deep ditches adjacent to the edge of the road, not consistent with a city street. Crews have been working over there for about 3.5 weeks, installing new storm drain, curb and gutter, asphalt topping. It's coming out really, really nice. The one thing when we started pursuing this project, we were a little disappointed about was we didn't have enough room to construct a cul-de-sac at the end because it was a hard dead end at the east termini of the street. And as we started progressing with the project, working really well with the neighbors, the property owners at the end of the street expressed an interest of donating the property needed to construct a partial cul-de-sac at the end. And what that would do is allow for a turnaround of larger vehicles like fire trucks, other emergency vehicles, school buses, and public works trucks like garbage trucks. So the Myers family has offered to donate the needed 0.025 acres, which is 1,093 square feet. And again, this will make things so much better for everybody. The one frustration they have now, the reason they were so excited about pursuing this is they're actually having people turn around in their property right now. And a few people have gotten stuck, which required a wrecker service to pull them out. A survey is included in the packet, and we're seeking your approval of the resolution to accept the right-of-way from the Myers family.
Excuse me, Andrew, what's the status on the sidewalks over there?
Again, the right of way is very constrained. We don't currently have the right of way even to install sidewalk on one side, but our approach for this project was once we got the curb and gutter, all the storm drain put in, perhaps we could work with the neighbors to do a similar process as this, to donate the right of way to put the sidewalk in. All that infrastructure needs to remain in the right of way, and currently we just don't have it. It's like a 30-foot, and in some places it's 27 feet. This is an old county subdivision, we believe, that was annexed later. So we're trying to bring it up to city standards, and the project will be set up to add sidewalk at a later date.
I know that had been on the burner for a while as far as requests for that. I just want to check the stats. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Your motion on this?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goodlett, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Harlan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 6, first reading on ordinance 20-14 to amend section 94-77 of Article 2, collection of chapter 94 solid waste, the revised code of ordinances. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all are aware, the new garbage and refuse ordinance went into effect on August 17th. Since August 17th, our staff has been working diligently with residents to continue the education and outreach about the new ordinance. Despite our best communication efforts, we still have some folks that are not aware, so they're inadvertently placing items that are now prohibited at the curb. We started today assessing fees under the new ordinance. But during the last 2 weeks, we saw a need for some minor cleanup of just the fee section of the ordinance that we think will work better to administer the new program and also make it somewhat more fair on the resident side. A couple of examples include it's an ordinance violation for failure to call ahead or use the app to schedule service. There's no clear fee for that. So rather than make folks go directly to municipal court, we're requesting a fee of $25 for that violation. Also, the current ordinance, the fee would be $50 for certain prohibited items. Some of those prohibited items are not hazardous in nature or illicit. They're just prohibited by the ordinance. Examples include cardboard boxes, loose debris. We still see quite a bit of that. That would be a $25 fee under this schedule as opposed to $50, which was what was in the ordinance. And then finally, another example is the construction debris, which is prohibited. It's always been prohibited. The ordinance calls for a $50 per cubic yard fee if that's placed, because it's not allowed. But we have some occasions where a resident may put a couple of boards out or one plastic pail. And so the amendment to the fee section would drop that fee down to $25 if it's below the 1 cubic yard, so that they don't get a full $50 charge. Obviously, code enforcement and public works have the ability under the ordinance to skip this, skip a first warning, all that type of stuff if it's an egregious violation or if it's a repeat offender. But we feel like these small changes to this one section of the ordinance will make things more streamlined as we continue to work toward cleaning our city up. Any questions? This is just a first reading since it would be an ordinance revision.
How have things gone with it so far? I mean, we just be handing out fines all the time with the way people are reacting to it right now.
So we service about 8,000 households in the city with sanitation services. Today, we had about 50 violations. So I think that's a pretty good compliance rate. If you divide 8,000 by, 5 days a week, we had 50 violations. So most folks have gotten the memo. We had a real grassroots effort to get the word out. You probably, if you live in the city, you saw a sticker on your garbage can that let you know, alerted you of the changes in English and Spanish. Our website has been completely overhauled thanks to Bruce Frazier in English and in Spanish to let folks know about the new changes. And overall, it's going well. I think the biggest violations right now are failure to call ahead or use the app. And then the cardboard, we're still seeing quite a bit of cardboard, which is allowed to be placed in your recycle bin, or you can use one of our 6 strategically placed cardboard dumpsters around the city for bulky cardboard. Those are the 2 biggest violations that we're still seeing right now.
What about cardboard that has things in it? I mean, I'm just talking from a very practical sense. It's not always just, hey, here's some cardboard that's easily folded and put into the recycle, but here's a cardboard box of stuff we've cleaned out of, you know, attic or something.
What we ask is due to that weather and everything, those cardboard boxes break down. And so a lot of times that leads to it being strewn out all over the curb. Our new ordinance requires that it be placed in an all-weather container. We put together a video with Bruce Frazier on the website that demonstrates what that looks like. So if you have a chance, look at the Facebook video. It's in English and in Spanish to explain what we're looking for. But if it's an old Rubbermaid container, something like that, we just ask that if you've got loose debris, that it be contained in that and rather than a cardboard box.
Couple more questions. Is this something that currently we're picking up, and a lot of these questions come from people that ask
Sure.
me. Say you do one of these things that would create a $25, fine. Is it still picked up and you're just giving?
Yes, that's correct. So today, prior to today, we had been giving folks the door hanger notice warnings to let them know what they placed was prohibited under the ordinance. But as we discussed this in several different settings, if the goal is to clean the city up, what we started doing today is going ahead and pick the material up, and the resident will be mailed a fee for that. If they pay the fee the first time, they don't have to go before municipal court. But if they are a repeat offender placing something out, that's technically a code violation. And so if you do it a second or a third time, or it's egregious the first time, that would warrant a visit from code enforcement.
Because I've had a couple people text me and send me emails showing what they did not think were construction materials. And it was not picked up, and they said, how is this construction material?
Right.
It was some of the everyday stuff that comes to us. So on construction materials is the one we're not picking up, and we're just giving them the notice.
No, we're picking it up starting today. It's still prohibited under the ordinance, right? You're not supposed to do it, but we don't want it sitting out there for 2 to 3 weeks, because unfortunately, leading up to now, we've tried to give residents the benefit of the doubt and say, hey, could you have it up through the weekend? And sometimes it may sit out 2 to 3 weeks. And if it's on a major thoroughfare or a subdivision street, that's where a lot of the complaints have been driven. So today we're taking a more active approach, a proactive approach. Go ahead and pull the material, and then through the finance department, we'll be mailing the resident a fee to account for the cost of the city hauling that material off since it was prohibited.
And if you use the app or you call ahead and say, hey, I've got this, I've got some loose debris that's not contained in an all-weather container curbside for collection or disposal. Are we saying that'll be $25, or are we just picking it up and then finding it?
The purpose of the call ahead is to prevent these things from happening. So if the resident calls ahead or uses the app, it gives us an opportunity to say, Sherry, if you call, she'll say, well, what are you putting out? And if the person says, I've got, my child went to college and we're putting all their old clothes out, which we've had happen. They just dump all the clothes out. So it looks like, pretty bad. We can explain the ordinance to them. That's why the call ahead or use of the app is so important, because it gives us a chance to fix it before the illegal items are placed curbside, but also to tell them when to place it out so that it's not out there a week and a half before we get there. And that part has actually been working very well. We saw a big uptick in the app users. We had probably about a 1% user rate compared to our call volume beforehand. That has probably gone up to probably closer to 10%, and it grows every week as more and more people find out about it.
And my final question, a lot of this stuff pertains to me, not just
Sure.
people who contact me. But the placing excessive garbage in the container that prevents the lid from closing. Since I moved to Dalton in 2012, I'm not sure that lid is ever closed. Are we just talking about on top of it? Or?
Yeah, so for example, we had a case today where I saw a picture of a resident who the lid was all the way open and there were like 4 bags next to the can. And that's what we're trying to prevent. We're not going to be going out looking for stuff like that, but if it's a continuous problem like it was with this person today, we look to correct that behavior. And it may be, just as simple as connecting with us to explain what other options might be available, like additional recycle cans, or we may look, at one time the city had a program for a second can. We don't currently offer that, but that may be something we continue to discuss. This is going to continue to be something we have to look at, assess as we move forward, because just like with these small revisions of the fee schedule, we saw that after the new ordinance went in place. And as we dedicate additional resources or restructure the way we do this, there may be more changes that need to take place.
I think the additional can or the additional recycle would be a fantastic idea, especially for houses with 3 growing kids.
Sure.
It get crazy. Maybe the 90-degree rule in terms of closing it, if it's beyond 90 degrees, then it's considered.
I think we've got enough flexibility in.
Andrew, I have
ordinance.
one
Andy, has there
question.
been a legal precedent on the 90-degree rule or anything like that? So, all right.
Councilman Goodlett.
On the, I know on the old pickup, you would always leave tires back. So if somebody put a tire out there now, would y'all pick it up or would you leave it?
We would pick it up under the new ordinance so that it's removed, and we would send a bill to the property owner. And then we have today, obviously, we're not going to get it right 100% of the time as to who the material belongs to. There's always some odd situations that occur. And so we have an appeal form. If you receive a fee in the mail and it was not your material, we just ask that you fill out the form, explain what happened, give us a chance to check into it, give code enforcement potentially a chance to check into it, and we will waive the fee if there's true merit that they really didn't put it. The intent behind these fees is for us not to be picking this up in the first place. But as we said, if the intent was to clean the city up, we've got to intervene at some point and go ahead and remove that debris and then place a fee on the property owner for the cost to haul that material off.
Andrew, I could tell you how I personally fixed this situation one time. I come home, the lid's back like this. My wife had put a bunch of boxes out there stacked up about this high. I simply got all the boxes out of the trash can, broke them down, put them in the backseat of the car, brought them over here and put them in the dumpster. And it looks a lot better from the house.
You didn't make Kim do that?
Of course, Kim did. No, I did the cleaning up part. I know how to break down boxes.
Andrew, we've never picked up tires, have we?
No, we haven't. But the problem is we have some locations where there may be an absentee property owner and somebody's dumped illegal tires. We've never picked those up, and we're not advertising that we pick them up now. We're just saying if we have to intervene and remove them, we've got a fee schedule in place that would allow us to bill the property owner accordingly.
Yeah, I just been saying like some empty lots, and that's where the tires always, like on Ford Street.
Sure.
Right there, they always get dumped right there.
And typically on 100% of those, code enforcement's going to be involved on the front end to do an investigation to see if they can figure out where they came from. And if not, that's when we would intervene. And a lot of times, unfortunately, these vacant lots or vacant houses, the property owner really needs to make sure that they've got the lot secured so that doesn't create an inviting place to do that kind of activity. That's why we want to connect with the property owner so that can be corrected.
Thank you.
Andrew, is there a current, or this may be for the chief, is there a current, a fine or process if somebody leaves tires on your property or business property or wherever? Is there a certain fine type thing for that, chief? And how does one address that? Because you see some places that have business and you see people leaving tires there beside their dumpsters all the time.
Code officers get out and do proactive patrols, trying to identify those situations on their own. But if we get a call about it, a lot of times the calls come from the public works folks because they're on all of the secondary streets. Once they call us, we'll send one of the code enforcement officers out. They'll take enforcement action and address those concerns.
What's the fee for leaving a tire, say, beside a business dumpster or something? Because you see them like behind Kroger or somewhere, shopping center, you see where somebody throws out a tire. Is there a certain fine for that, or?
Typically what happens on that is it gets cleaned up on a cleanup day and public works comes out to do it because you don't know who the actual.
But if a business owner saw somebody.
It's normally not the property owner. It's some third party that does it. And unless we catch them in the act, we wouldn't know who to go back and find that to. But I don't know what the fine is.
It'd be like
All
dumping
kinds of
anything
rules
else.
for those. But I can find out and have that
Okay,
sent to y'all.
thank
so know
you.
Exactly what the cost is.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Gandy, a lot of our city code sections reference back to section 17, which basically gives the municipal court judge some discretion about $1,000 fine, community service, or some time in jail. So a lot of our city ordinance, I don't know if the tire ordinance refers back to that, but a lot of them do.
That's correct, it does. The general provision for any violation of the city ordinance allows the municipal judge to fine up to $1,000 and or incarceration or community service. There are some limits to just 60 days, although there's some provisions that could go up to 12 months of incarceration. That's within the discretion of the judge.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Andrew, my limited math skills, I think your violations were 0.6%, and that's pretty doggone good early on in this thing. That's all it's been. Under number 7, Dalton Fire Station number 5's roof. Todd?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is the contract you have before you as a result of an RFP that we released a couple of weeks ago. This is to replace the shingle roof and the underlayment at Station 5 over off Cross Plains Boulevard. This contract will award the contract to the second highest or the second from the lowest contract. The lowest contractor that we had actually had 30-year shingles. This is lifetime shingles, as well as a 10-year labor warranty on it, just $1,700 difference. But this is a contract for $31,525 to replace the roof and all this underlayment. And one reason it needs to be, the main reason it needs to be replaced is this station sustained heavy hail damage approximately 4 years ago. And since then, we have been replacing shingles and having to do repairs to this roof multiple times a year. So we were told by a roofer earlier in the year that we had less than a year. So this will get us repaired and back up and going where we don't have to keep maintaining it. I'll answer any questions anybody has.
Any questions of Todd? Your motion on?
Is this in your budget?
Yes, this was approved thank you. This was approved in our 2020 capital request.
Your motion on this?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Before we adjourn into executive session under supplemental business, we always like to recognize people's birthdays, and we won't meet again until somebody has a birthday. And it's Ms. Harlan. I'm not going to say it's a very important birthday too, I would think. I'm not going to say what it is. You may want to tell you what it is or whatever, but let's all sing happy birthday to Anna Lee. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anna Lee. Happy birthday to you. And, you want to tell people what birthday this is?
40.
What? I'm not sure I do. It's 40 years ago, maybe. It's do I hear a motion that we adjourn into?
One quick thing, Mr.
Yep.
Mayor, is this something that to bring up?
Yeah, thank you. You could mention
Okay.
that. Yes, sir.
Before you, you have a flyer. This is from the Downtown Development Authority. And this is I would refer to it as an initiative to be a positive leader in the community for downtown businesses, to encourage people. And there's a really cool little logo with a peacock with a mask. It says, "Make safe happen." Because this is actionable. We are, as a community, going to have to make our community safe and do it in a positive way. So this is to let folks know that the Downtown Dalton Development Authority will begin accepting permit applications for downtown events effective September 1. All permit applications will be subject to the normal policy and procedures governing the application process. The only exceptions to the 60-day in advance permit requirement. So that means that it's going to be 60 days past September 1, so this isn't like next week, that an event could occur. But an exception to this advance requirement will be for those annual and customary downtown parades and events, but all new applications will be subject to all the normal application process requirements. In addition, all permit holders will be subject to any subsequent executive order, guidelines issued by the governor, or public health directives. Downtown Development Authority recommends that all permit holders encourage attendees to social distance, use hand sanitizer, and wear a mask. So the safer we do things, the more responsibly we do things in the community, the more we can do across the board. And I credit the entire Downtown Development Authority board for their support of small businesses, but they've come together and said, how can we do things safely? And I think it's more a carrot than it is a stick, is that the more we can do well, the more we can have happen and move forward. But this is in no way an initiative to throw, caution to the wind and say we're going to go forth regardless. No, this is trying to make things happen in the most responsible way possible. With, I do want to mention, when we do have events, part of the permitting process is to identify the public safety support services that are required, and those can impact your budget. So for the police department, for one, if there were numerous events, just keep in mind, council members, Mr. Mayor, that could impact the budget for the police department. But I think they've done, Audrey Batts, George Woodward have done a really good job putting.
Thank you, Annalee. There a motion, we adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Harlan,
In this meeting or you're-
and we'll come back into this meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. We'll go to Bernadette's conference room.
Yeah, waiting on you.
What do we do, Gandy,
You're back into your regular meeting, so you need to make a motion.
to adjourn the regular meeting? All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Mr. Goodlet, Mr. Cruz, Ms. Harlan, and Mr. Wall. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cruz, Mr. Goodlet, Ms. Harlan, and Mr. Wall. We're
See,
adjourned.
I told you, you could do that, we were.
You're staying as long as I'm staying.